I think here we are. Perfect.
Hi everyone.
Very early, very early. There we are.
We're on time, no glitch today.
I know. The last two sessions, unfortunately, were a bit late, but not today. Perfect. So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. Thanks for tuning in again. From Zimbabwe, simply, you're the first. Thanks for the
First comment, yeah. Hi.
Very good. It's probably going to take a few minutes now again for everybody to tune in. There we go. Trinidad, Netherlands.
Nikki from the Netherlands. Hi.
Awesome. Maldives.
Louis.
Oh, trust me, we'll be coming
Hi.
as soon as things ease up again. Bina.
Louis Eisen Ganza. I hope I said that correctly. From Ghana. Ekanem from Nigeria. Manchester.
Duisburg. Annie.
Deutschland.
Very good. Sehr gut.
Montreal. Florida, Canada,
Welcome,
USA.
welcome.
Everyone.
That is amazing.
Thank you. I think the beautiful thing about this is we're slowly starting to form a community within this series.
I know.
Because when I look at some of the comments, it's always like in response to somebody else or like...
True. I think last time actually there were a lot of conversations back and forth with you guys within the chat.
Within the chat, yeah.
We kind of had an eye on it while we were talking. We could see like you guys were kind of just talking amongst each other, which is brilliant, which is awesome. You know, so welcome.
Welcome.
As always, again, you guys know a disclaimer that, you know, the boys are sleeping downstairs. Just in case anybody walks in, well, it's going to be Keen anyway.
Because no one's still trapped in a cot.
Exactly. So in case Keen walks in, please forgive us. You know, one of us will have to obviously get up and take him back to bed.
Yeah.
But again, if you've been here before, you know how it goes. And also, of course, if you're new to our channel, if you're tuning in maybe for the first time, please make sure to obviously subscribe. That way you get welcome first of all, and obviously subscribe to get more videos and get notifications as well of any videos we'll upload. So I would say we'll give maybe 2 more minutes. We usually have sort of a bit of a delay for some people to tune in, so we'll give maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll get started.
While you pour the wine, I was
like,
what was he doing? Like, what was he doing?
My favorite tradition, guys. Okay, so let's get our wine ready. We hope that you guys have your glasses ready with whatever drink you prefer. We don't want to be influencing you, but we do love a glass of wine. So we have another white wine today. This is now from South Africa.
You're sure this is white?
I'm 100% sure. 100% sure this is going to be white wine. From South Africa is Chenin Blanc from Bellows Rock. So anyway, let's see how that goes. Here you go, my love. This is yours. This is my own. Put it in the front. Well, there you go.
Dankeschön, David.
You actually have to drink this time as well, you know? I think the last few times you hardly ever had any any bit of the wine. I feel like I was the only one drinking. Alright guys, so this is to you.
Prost.
And to us, of course, another live video.
Prost.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Imagine if we started every series actually rating wine.
That might be a whole new thing. We'll become wine expert at some point. People might think we're doing this because of the wine now, but
it's actually the other way around, yeah.
Guys, I know, right? I'm just seeing some of you guys. How amazing does Adanna look tonight? I mean, seriously.
Sorry,
I literally was asking when she came out. I was like, wait, are you going somewhere after this, or is this just the? I mean, look at her.
Thank you, David.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Thank you to everybody who's leaving me a compliment. I've actually missed it, but thank you so much. So people said they love my... Listen, guys, I was actually going to take a shower, tied my hair up in the bun, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, so thank you. It wasn't an intentional updo, but it worked.
Very beautiful.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into this video. So, so you guys know that the To Navigate platform is about navigating our way as a couple. And of course, the most frequent asked question
very good
is always about, relationship and, how did you know David was the one? How did he know that I was the one? And
What are
sort
the
of like
signals to look out for?
yeah. So we get a lot of relationship questions from people who are yet to enter a relationship, and from people already in a relationship, and from married couples and everything. We're no experts. We're not claiming to be, but we just believe we've gotten a lot of experience from our relationship because we've been intentional about everything that we put into the relationship. And if that makes us your go-to people for relationship questions, it's our pleasure to answer it to the best of our ability, of course.
Right.
Okay, so for this topic,
Yes.
how do you know that he's the one? So I suppose,
Right.
how did I know David was the one?
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Of
I mean,
course.
this doesn't just go one way. No, so we thought we will kind of obviously share a little bit of, I guess, our journey. Start because ultimately, I think it comes back to, of course, what are, let's say, your principles, the values that you look out for? Because ultimately, you have to kind of know what you're looking for to at some point make a decision, that, okay, yeah, this is now the person that I believe at least kind of matches most of what I'm looking for in a partner, right? So we thought it would be interesting maybe to kind of quickly share a little bit on maybe how we viewed kind of relationships and kind of our the one or the better half when we were younger, right? Before we kind of had that experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I didn't grow up thinking about the one, which I think I've said it before. I think my twin sister and I, because we had two older brothers, we did lots of boy stuff. We were tomboys, and I just wouldn't peg myself cliche person who thought about like her life ahead of time. However, of course, with societal pressures, which I didn't fall into, but having all these uncles, aunties trying to hint to you that it's time to get married, you kind of start to think about that person that you would potentially end up with. And so for me, I didn't really have any picture.
Right.
And I would say, so I can't really compare that. It changed at some point.
What would you say were the kind of the things you thought that are most important to you in a future partner?
Okay.
Do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I just thought the person has to be, a good person, a kind person, treated me well, and was, I suppose, financially stable. Yeah. Not like, oh, I have to marry like this wealthy, stinkingly rich person. I just knew that because I crave stability, and I'm working hard. To have that financial independence. Of course, I wanted the other person that I was getting married or the one, to also be stable.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted his money, but so that we can join forces, kind of thing. Yeah, but I didn't really. You see, and I think that's why we find this interesting is because we're gonna mention to you a few things that prior to getting into a relationship and a lifetime commitment, most people don't really think about. So I was in that position where I only thought about the good. That relationship has to be, I didn't even think about it so much as like it has to be very healthy.
Yeah.
Or like we shouldn't have arguments. It's just good person, financially stable, physically good looking.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's it, right?
Okay. Interesting.
And then I'm going to fast forward into now marriage and everything you need to think about after you tell me.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it was a little bit different, I would say. So I actually was a bit of a late starter, let's say. I never really was as confident. When I was younger, I'm talking about kind of early teenage years, let's say, right? When you kind of would maybe first think about relationships and kind of, start having those kind of like, thoughts, I guess, of having a partner, and that will eventually might lead to marriage. But so I kind of looked at it almost like I just hope I find somebody who will accept me generally, because I don't want to necessarily say I had no self-confidence or confidence, but I was certainly not the kind of the most overly confident person, let's say, when it came to kind of girls at the time, right? So really, in the beginning, I almost was like, I just hope I find any girlfriend. Literally, really, honestly, I would genuinely thought that, like, oh my God, I just hope I find somebody, at some point
that would
kind of accept me with all the flaws and God knows what. So that was really, I think, the core thought of fear in the beginning, right? Now, obviously, a little bit into, let's say, the first experiences, which I would still consider the beginning, right? wasn't so much maybe the financial stability. I was very much, I think, around kind of shared vision and ambition, right?
Oh.
So that was the time when I think I started developing a bit more of like, hey, you know what? Maybe there's more to life than kind of where I grew up, which is, a small village in Germany, right? So I developed a little bit. That was the beginning of that sense of like, there must be more
Outside,
to the life out there. So I kind of felt, I didn't know whether that's meant just like traveling, exploring the world, or job-wise. I don't want to say this was necessarily profession speaking on job level, but just somebody who was craving a bit more than, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What they're used to.
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, I remember that quite vividly. But yeah, that's kind of where the two initial phases of me, it was like first just anybody that accepts me, and then actually somebody who's a bit willing to explore and go out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
I didn't really have anything more specific.
Okay.
I never really specifically kind of listed,
Yeah, neither did I. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't list anybody. But I think we always say this, that most times in a relationship, you might not know how to articulate all that you want.
Yeah.
But sometimes you know what you don't want.
want.
Yeah. So I think my don't wants were more, were stronger, loud and clear. Were clearer than my wants.
Yeah.
Even though now, since I've been developing myself, every aspect of my life, I realized that was a very flawed mentality. You need to always just manifest more what you want, rather than holding on to the things you don't want, because those are the things you attract to your life, because they literally occupy your thoughts of what you don't want. So I didn't really, that was me anyway. Lucky enough, even before my mindset changed, I was lucky to find someone like you. That was very good. Someone like you. I was lucky to find you.
Like you. Nothing but the best. Okay,
sorry. Sorry about this. Is not the time or the place, David. We can't even sing.
No,
the only place we sing is in the shower.
I know.
Okay. But anyway, so fast forward to now as a family, right? After we've found each other. Oh, was that a big jump?
I was gonna take it a little slower than that maybe. Let's just maybe start when do you think
this is the end of the video.
Yeah, bye. No. What I think is really interesting is, so when do you think, because, sorry.
It looks like you're the moderator.
No, because I think one thing that is very important for me when I speak to people about this, or when I think about it, is like, it's important to understand that these things, these kind of views of what is important to you in life evolve and change over time.
Definitely.
Right? I mean,
definitely.
Very few people, correct us if we're wrong on this, but very few people have the same idea of the perfect partner at 14 or 16 that they might have at 25 or when they eventually meet the one, right? You need some life experience to judge a little bit. Okay, actually, you know what? I realized what I thought at 16 is not what I actually really want as a lifelong partner.
Yeah.
So when do you think then, that kind of changed? Or when did you grow a little bit like, oh, you know what? Actually, there are different things that I value. Is there any kind of...
Before then, actually, I'll just take back to what you've summarized there. There's often a joke, a very bad joke about women in their teens and their desired partner as they get older. Okay. When you're younger, you want someone who's tall, handsome, ripped. And then at 30 something, if you haven't found anyone, you're willing to settle for anything. Okay. Short, it's a bad joke. Yeah. But having reflected on what that actually means. Yeah. Women's choices, or it could be women or men, but your choices of a partner, what you want, changes because you are evolving. Yeah. Yeah. True. So even though you end up in your 30s with someone who looks physically opposite to what you had thought,
hold on, excuse me. What are you trying to say with that?
No, I'm not. It's not about you, David. Don't
just let's stick to that what you just said. That
sorry,
physically somebody that you didn't think you would end up with.
No.
Sorry, guys. This just
it just spiraled real quick. I was not talking about you, David.
I'm joking.
I'm only saying that even though in your 30s you might end up with somebody who's you might be with somebody who's the physical opposite of what you had imagined when you were growing up. Some women superficially still find themselves conflicted whether or not they're going to end up with that person, because they're not putting their values first, because that person who is not physically as good looking might have the exact same values that you have then developed over time, and that's how you end up together. But what was your question?
I guess my question was a little bit around so when do you think in your case, did you notice that the way you look at maybe what the perfect partner it might look like changed? When did that change and how, maybe, if you can remember? Or, I mean, it's usually a process, not like one day, but like, can you think of anything like what changed?
So for me, I will be the exception in the sense that nothing changed because I didn't have clearly defined must-haves.
Okay.
In a partner.
Okay.
I knew what I didn't want, like I said, and I held on to that more strongly than what I wanted because I wasn't even so clear what everything that I wanted. And so nothing changed. I only just made a decision based on the person I was dating. I like, is that relationship, am I getting everything that I value, that fills me? Okay. If the answer is no, then goodbye. So, but the one vivid one, obviously one of even my long-term relationship, I remember vividly the reason I had broken up with him, although he met the other criteria of being like financially stable and same culture, all that stuff. Yeah, the reason I did it is because he did not believe in equality in any way, shape or form. His mentality was, he's the guy who provides and I'm the woman who has a baby and looks after the kids. Because I remember I was dating him obviously before I had gone to med school, and when I was talking about my plans to come to med school, he said to me, well, if you're so hungry to be a doctor, maybe just do a PhD, as if PhD is not valuable. Just do a PhD for the title, because if you go to med school, who's going to look after the kids when you're working? Something along those lines. That was the very first time I was like, huh? Excuse me? And then the other time was when it came to like domestic responsibility, and he said to me like, oh, women are supposed to take pride in cleaning the home and keeping it in order. I was like, honey, pack your shit to the left, please. We can't do this. So my thing was, I obviously, one of my values, which is equality, presented itself very early on. That's good. That I could just tell in a partner, well, if you don't have these values, we're just not about to walk down this aisle.
Fair enough. Yeah. But I mean, let's get to the juicy bit though, because I mean, you did say something that, I mean, you might be the exception, that it didn't really change for you because you didn't really have maybe very specific ideas. However, and we've talked about this before, I think on videos, when we first met, I think it's fair to say, a bit of a singing thing here going on today.
I don't know what it is.
So, but when we first met though, is it fair to say that you certainly didn't immediately imagine this could be the one?
Oh,
which is 100%. Okay, but, yeah. So walk me, maybe even myself. I'm learning here, by the way.
And that will bring me to... No, that will bring me back to one of the tips that we're going to leave in this video is confronting all of the biases or the things that you've been made to believe. Right. So when I first met David, even when we started secretly seeing each other.
What?
Yes. I kind of, even though you were good, you were so good to me. Like every time we had the date, you would cook, you were so good to me. There was nothing in me that told me we were going to end up together. Get married. Yeah. Never. Because, and now retrospectively, it's because I grew up with all of the message around me being, you are the first daughter of a traditional Igbo family. You must come home with an Igbo man. So nobody literally said those words to me.
Right, but it was understood.
It was understood. It was an unspoken understanding, right? Yeah. So for me, I just tried to block out anything that was presenting itself in a different form from what was projected on me. Okay. So I was like, don't come at me with this. So, let's just keep it moving. Anyway.
So in that case, then that's probably the most interesting piece now. Okay. So how and when, like how
we didn't even agree we're gonna be a moderator.
No, I love that. I love that, guys. You know, thanks for helping me revealing some of these things.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Okay. What was I gonna say? So how then and when did that change for you? Like when was there a moment? Do you remember the day or so when you first thought, never really thought of this, but maybe he could actually, be a bit more than what I thought. Was there a time, or was it more like, again, one of those, evolutions over time and hard to pinpoint a moment?
Yeah, there was a moment.
Oh.
There was a moment
Tell me.
when exactly that happened, and that was August 11th, 2011. Actually, 11/11. Oh my God, me and my double
How
digits.
do you know the day?
Because I remember
Okay,
having
now,
that.
I didn't expect that.
I know I've never told you this before, but that
haven't
was
actually.
yeah. But August was that summer you had come to visit me before moving to Mozambique,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
Yeah, I think, yeah,
You might not.
No,
You
I
see, you don't
remember.
even remember.
No, I remember. I remember the
But
visit.
I had that. You know, it was like a intense reflection
Yeah.
where I was confronting everything that was holding me back
Yeah.
from dating a very good man. Literally.
Okay.
And I just thought to myself, it's only because he is white.
Mm.
Literally, that was my only conflict with myself.
Right.
Because I just already imagined what everybody else would say.
Yeah.
And I ended up choosing myself. I chose myself.
Amen.
Thank you, baby. I chose myself. I was like, no, I don't care. I'm willing. And that's why eventually, I mean, you guys know now the back end story of everything that happened, meeting my family, the wedding, everything. That was why I was able to stick through it.
Yeah.
Because
You
I had
knew-
already chosen myself.
You know why you made the decision.
Exactly.
It was just thing you stumbled into.
No.
You made a very conscious decision.
Yes,
This is for me.
It was very conscious.
Sure, that makes sense. That gave you
Very
the backbone
conscious.
to stand up to all the criticism that followed after that.
Definitely. Yes.
Guys,
Yeah.
that's some real wisdom there. Wow.
Anyway, so that's when exactly when I
Nice.
then had that, and I remember then we had that conversation,
Yeah.
like what does it
Yeah.
mean? And I think at that point you were trying to protect your heart again, sort of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So and that's how I knew.
Yeah, it was funny because for me, of course, the other way around. I mean, I maybe as a romantic as I was or something, but
Yeah.
obviously I had a kind of certainly a hope. Maybe let's call it. You know, I'm not going to claim like, oh, I saw this all coming. I knew. It wasn't like this. I'm not going to claim that. But I certainly very early on had a hope. So I always was the one, I think, from the get-go to be much more like, oh, let's take this to the next level, or where are we with this, But then to be honest, of course, and you know this, of course, because then it didn't quite happen the way I thought, like in terms of the pace, let's say. I then also took a little bit step back, right? I mean, that's what you meant, like I think with protecting my heart, I guess, because obviously I wasn't getting the same level of response that I was hoping for initially. So of course you want to be a bit more careful then.
Yeah.
But again,
but
it all paid off.
Yeah, but most importantly, what would have also given me the confidence to have chosen myself, and by extension choosing you,
Yeah.
is obviously you proving yourself and me understanding that our values align.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't understand to what extent our values needed to align.
Yeah.
And I'm going to expand on that shortly. But our values align, which for me, the most important one is you see me as a woman, as an equal. Like, you know what I mean?
Of course.
And of course, I didn't get any gender stereotype from you. There was no expectations for me to be domestic. There wasn't, like, you kind of pick up on that over time. And obviously I had picked up on that.
Yeah.
And when I then compared it to maybe the list of people in my past, the only barrier was you were just Nigerian Igbo. Exactly. And so then I was like, no, this is actually
This can't be.
very limiting.
Yeah.
It's very limiting for any
Yeah.
human being to just be boxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. So, yeah, here we are. Yeah. I mean, do you know, so should we get on to living tips on how to find the one?
Yeah, I think I was actually going to say, so moving kind of bridging from there, I think quite smoothly, is in order, of course, for you to be able to make that kind of decision. I think you walked us through, which is incredible, right? And I always had this, and I think even one of the series here in the beginning of the traditional wedding, it would not have happened if it wasn't for kind of Adanna's strength and courage to stick to it, because she had to go through most of the kind of trouble, right? So just that was just the start when she made the decision for herself to even be with me. That was just the start of the whole journey. But I would I think with that lead to one of our first points we discussed, is for you to even be able to make that kind of decision, and for you to even be able to know you know, like, let's say, what to look out for and what you really want and what maybe you're able to, you know, we always talk about compromise, what you're able to maybe, okay, you know what, that would be great, but it's not, you know, is obviously, you need to know yourself.
Oh my goodness.
Right? I mean, you need to first and foremost, you cannot expect to, one thing that stuck with me, by the way, is Michelle Obama said this, I think, in her book and also in some of the talks she did, right? Saying how one of the key things for her in their marriage when they were going through a bit of a rough time was to understand that it wasn't her husband's or Barack Obama's responsibility to make her happy. So you cannot expect a partner, whether it's a kind of male or female, to fill in gaps in your own life or in your own happiness. Now, they might help with them, but it's not their responsibility.
No.
Right? So you can't be going out looking for people, for partners, to fill in the gaps in your life.
Exactly.
So you need to first sort yourself out.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your own happiness, at least in general. Again, partners can help, but, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's I think one of the big ones, first ones, right? You really need to understand that like you are responsible for yourself. You need to figure yourself out first.
Understand your values.
Yeah.
Understand what values are very important for you to live. Like, make a list. I'm just so passionate about coaching people now about finding their purpose. But on that journey to finding your purpose, some things that must be clear to you are your principles, your values. Even if you list down 3 values that you literally cannot live without, it will guide you to, you know yourself better and to also know what partners to let in or what potential partner to be like, no, we can't. And the reason I feel like a lot of women don't really sit down to consider this is when you hear about all of the problems that present themselves after the marriage, and then you realize, well, you know what, you were even never on the same page to begin with.
You could have known if you had actually...
For example, if a value that's very important to you is religion, right? And you're a young girl who's, you know, maybe who's Muslim dating a Christian guy, and you know, the religion, you know, that you want to practice all of the days of your life, including your children, is Islam. You know, you can't be blinded by dating a Christian boy without even having that conversation, deciding what happens after the kids are born, what religion, find out who's going to make a compromise. But at least you know that at the forefront of that relationship, at the foundation of that relationship is mutual values that align. You know, because we have friends. I personally, one of the guys that went to UEA, who came from a background where the father is Muslim, the mother is Christian, and he was so confused because they couldn't agree on what religion to raise the kids with. So every Friday his father would take him to the mosque, and every Sunday his mother would take him to the church. I don't know how he developed spiritually, but when he had that conversation with me, he said it was very confusing. And oftentimes it came as a sort of being spiteful to the other partner, like, now you're taking him to mosque, I'm gonna take him to church, like but anyway, these are examples of things that you really need to be on the same page with before you go into the relationship, like equality, you know, loyalty, trust, anything. But you really need to know that for yourself before you commit to somebody else. And even when you then find a partner, you really need to discuss that.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I think you know, it's so important, especially more so I think when it comes to maybe the way women look at their partners in life, is really kind of how they treat how they're being treated, right? That I think is something that, you know, there's a lot of things, at least for many women, that can be sort of excused, you know, if they do other things well. I mean, this whole providing mentality a little bit, you know, but I mean, that ultimately wears off to some degree. Like when you speak, I mean, I don't know if you can relate to this, if you had conversations with, I don't know, either older relatives or just any random older person maybe, you know, you usually always see the same story, right? As at the end of the day, you know, everybody wants to be treated nicely, wants to be loved on a human level, you know. You cannot maintain, yes, in the beginning, maybe buying things or providing, and that's important. I'm not saying, of course, look, nobody wants a kind of, you know, a kind of a nobody or so, you know, like, of course you want somebody who's ambitious and works hard, but more important, I think, than anything else is really that genuine love and caring for you as a person. Nothing else can make up for that in the long run.
Yeah.
If we're really for a relationship, yeah, okay, fine. Maybe if it's a time limited piece, whatever. But for a long term, lifelong relationship, i.e. marriage, nothing can make up for genuine love.
For genuine,
and like really caring for the person. And that's something, unfortunately, I feel sometimes gets a bit lost.
Yeah. And love, exactly. It's of course, love in this situation is even more than the physical.
Yeah.
The physical.
Oh yeah, no, of
love.
course.
It's just everything else
100%.
that person is able to do for you and with you and support you and guide you through that. These are ways that the person can prove that they truly love you. But like David said, you find some people saying, well, he lacks here and here and here, so that he's good here and here, so I'm gonna accept all his flaws. And just to expand on that, nobody's perfect.
Right,
so I'm not even saying that you find something flawed about somebody and you realize, oh well, he doesn't tick all the boxes. No. But by making clear what your values are important to you, you definitely know what you cannot compromise on.
Yeah.
So if the other person's flaw happens to be a value that really means so much to you, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you would accept that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a no-go.
100%. Yeah. And I think, so if we think about sort of broad, I guess, tips or kind of things to share for us, the first one earlier was really about you need to find yourself. That is absolutely crucial. Nothing else will work, as long as you haven't figured that out. And then secondly, I think is that piece that we mentioned very early on. It's also important to understand that it is okay and normal to change over time with your expectations for a partner. And I think it's a very healthy thing.
Yeah,
I almost feel like it's important because that shows growth in yourself. If you have the same idea of the perfect husband or wife than you had maybe when you were 16, maybe there's something wrong because you should have developed between 16 and whatever age you guys might be right now, right? So I think realizing, not feeling what I've heard, for example, now a few times, is people then, if they realize, oh my God, my values changed, or I'm now looking at this differently, they almost feel like I have actually not found myself. So they question, why can't I stick to the same values? I feel like I'm all over the place. And like, no, it's completely okay and expected, and the most important to also evolve over time. With life experience, you gain more experience, you know what you really care about more, you learn more about the world. And it's normal and good that you also therefore change a little bit what you expect of a partner, right? So that'll be the second, I think, big piece as well. That change is good. Change is good.
Another tip I would give personally, based on my experience, is to be courageous enough to challenge other people's projection of what your life partner should look like. Because when you take the time to reflect, you realize you don't even really feel that way. Because when I took the time to ask myself, the one thing that was important to me was that you were Christian, right?
Yeah.
That was my own personal value, that you were Christian. But I did not set anything. There was no place I'd written down that I must marry a Nigerian man.
Yeah, right.
So then I realized that all of those chains were put on me by everyone else except me.
Yeah.
So I was courageous enough to challenge that. Yeah. I'm not saying go out and be rebellious, be strategic about it. I'm really big on strategy. When you find out what you have to do, even if you're not there, keep your eye on the prize and plan your way to get there. So obviously, I'm not saying everyone go crazy, move out of your house, be rude to your parents because they're questioning XYZ. No. You need to go and do the reflection alone and then realize, okay, what is the thing? If I decide to follow my heart and I genuinely believe that would make me happy, what is going to be the consequences and how can I solve it? So a typical example would be, let's just say, for argument's sake, a 25-year-old who's living at home, dating somebody who their family don't like, and let's just say that person has met the values that they've set for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they know that obviously if they say to their parents, no, I insist on dating that person, their parents might cut them off or tell them to move out. Yeah. You then realize that the only thing tying you to people's projection is the financial dependence. Yeah. So then you work hard enough so you can get your money and move out voluntarily. So that it's all about strategy. But you need to make sure that your heart is with that person. Like you've made up your mind. Because if I go back to everything that I'd gone through, you know, with my family regarding you, fair enough, I do understand. They thought that it was a phase for me, and I was going to come out of that phase. So eventually, when they realized it's not a phase, they then supported me.
Right.
So it's not about being rebellious. It's really about taking the time to understand yourself, list out the values that you know are important to you and important in the way that you visualize how your children will be raised and how your career will go. And then, you know, you need to see, does that person match those values? Are we going to build the foundation of our relationship together on those values? And if the answer is yes, then damn the consequences.
I don't think I have anything else to say after that.
This is the shortest video we've ever done.
Perfect ending. No, actually it's not. But yeah, completely true.
Yeah,
that's
these
all I
are
can
top
say.
3 tips. Yeah. But of course, if you're much younger, like teenagers, like you had said, the idea of what you might end up with might be very different, and that's okay. Just understand, like David said, it will change. One thing I was going to bring up actually is the idea of dating for the sake of dating and then waiting until you find the perfect person, right? So I had this conversation when I was in my early 20s. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You're not that... Sorry. Don't always... Anyway, you're not
when I was in my early 20s, I had this conversation because I had chosen to, after a few months, I had chosen to break up with a boyfriend that I had at the time. And I had my friends saying to me, oh, like, he's a good guy. Like, why are you breaking up with him? And I literally, my response to them was, you know what? I don't think he's husband material. And then one of my friends said to me, but you're not even ready to get married. Like, this is just dating. It's not like you're going to marry him. And I just remember feeling very strongly about this at the time. And I said to them, listen, I might not be thinking about marriage, but make no mistake, I will not waste my time dating someone for the sake of dating until I'm serious to find somebody I'm going to end up with. Why would I waste my life? And also, why would I risk it?
Yeah.
Because when you might not agree with me.
No,
Okay, let me finish my point and then we hear your opposing views. My thing
Where's
is,
the lighter?
before you blink, 7 years is gone by. No. Before you even say Jack, you're knocked up with a baby. I'm just saying these are accidents that might happen.
Slightly.
These are accidents that might happen. Yeah. And if they happen with somebody you're just dating for the sake of dating, you are permanently tied to this human being. Why would you waste your time? You're better off being alone, even discovering yourself more and more, than wasting your time dating somebody you know that you don't see yourself with because it's only dating and you're going to find the one later. So you clearly don't agree with that.
Time starts now.
What time for what?
No, I have time to answer.
Okay.
Now, I personally don't quite agree with that. Okay, for the following reasons.
Okay, do tell.
I believe so. It obviously depends a little bit on the definition. I'm not saying like kind of literally just jump on anybody who comes your way just because you need to date. But on the other hand, I, for example, don't quite agree that, you know, at any point when you date, you need to believe that that person could be a husband or wife material. You know, especially let's say in your late teens or so, when, you know, certainly for myself, and I believe also more broadly, it's only when you're actually, I think, mentally even ready to, you know, feel like, okay, I'm ready to settle. I believe now I'm really want, you know, to find the one and so forth. Because otherwise, it's going to be super limiting and unfair to the other person as well. If you always think like, oh, this needs to lead to marriage eventually, or this person needs to be able to live up to, you know, my wedding.
That's not what I'm saying.
You need to actually make some of the experience for you to even know what a kind of husband or wife material would be.
Yeah,
but so I personally don't think it's good or healthy to always look at, well, I'm never going to get married to the person anyway, and therefore I need to break up with them. It's like, no,
I'm not actually saying that you need to be dating someone with the hope that relationship will lead to marriage, because you might not be in that headspace at the time. However, I gave the example of religion because that's the one that a lot of people globally can relate to. For example, I'm very, very religious, and I see myself raising my children religiously. Then I meet an atheist, okay? I can't really, an atheist I know who is telling me, when I have children, I do not want them to be raised religiously. You know, even though he's a good person, he's kind. If that's a value that I hold really strongly, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna date you for the sake of dating you because because anybody I'm dating, I'm not saying that particular relationship might lead to marriage. Any relationship can lead to marriage.
Yeah.
So what if?
But on the other hand, that is not even. Then it's not. Maybe then I would phrase it differently because of course I agree. Something that fundamental, right? I can completely see how not even a relationship will work in that environment, right? But that is not just because of maybe this is husband or wife material. That is generally just like, you know, a completely different mindset in life, right? Like that is a bit more broad. I personally feel if as a late teenager or early 20s, you think in the way of like, oh, is he or she husband and wife material? I would have freaked out about this, and I don't think that is very helpful for most people if you don't have the mindset to actually consider, you know, getting engaged or getting married to somebody. Like, if there are fundamental differences in the way you look at life, i.e. religion or other things, right? Of course, I can see that cannot fit any relationship. Yeah. Right? But not because you're thinking, oh, I can't get married to that person. I think there would be a bit of a blocker for a lot of younger people.
So then what is why would somebody then say, I can't get married to that person?
No, for example, you can be in a relationship, right, where looking back at it now, I think most people, I think everybody has gone through this by now. Well, let's just be honest, okay? When looking back, it's like, that would have never, ever, would have been the most terrible marriage ever. And
if you ended up with that
person. For example, and probably most, if not all prior relationships, you probably look at it and you're like, oh my God, that would have been horrible, you know? But even at the time, at least in my case, I never spent, you know, any thought around, oh, maybe this could even lead to marriage, as long as I wasn't ready for it. You know, that's why maybe also at the beginning when we met, I was already in a mindset at the time where it's like, oh, you know, now I'm looking with the eyes of somebody who is actually looking for somebody who could be, you know, wife material, though I find the word a little bit strange, but you know what I mean? A lifelong partner, you see? Yeah. That's when I looked at it differently, but before, it's a bit more maybe...
Okay, well then I guess it's subjective.
Yeah, of course.
Because for me that had at least 2 or 3 values that were very strong and crystal clear since I was a teenager. And already, I'm not saying 1 month into dating 2 months. Let's just say, because for me, I start to, these sort of signals start popping up in my head once that relationship is getting to a year. Okay. Passing a year. Yeah. Right? Let's just say a year for the sake of argument.
In that relations, maybe that's why.
Okay, you see, this is largely
not
subjective.
Never, but not as much.
No, but you see, I was, so I didn't really get into a relationship. I'm like, no, not husband material, go. As a matter of fact, the shortest relationship I've had is 1 year for anybody I've dated. So get into that 1 year when serious conversations start popping up, not even in the form of marriage, hypothetical situations start popping up, and mate is giving me an answer that does not align with my values. Honey, the next day you are out. I'm not wasting my time dating you. That's just it. So maybe that's really subjective. Yeah. But the fact is, you might be dating a good person. 2 good people don't have to end up together. I've said this to a couple of my friends. Yeah, the fact that you can't. I think you should go beyond the physical. Oh, this person looks good. This person treats me well. To really your values, because when you get into a relationship, marriage, kids, life, the reality of life, the grind. When you guys are
for
not.
Your life. So if there's anything, sorry to interrupt you, but if there's anything I've noticed in the last year or 2, you know, with a lot of the stuff that, you know, we've both been going through, but you also you know, the growth and everything, I also realize it's, yes, all these other things are completely important, as you said, 100%, but also a little bit kind of how you envision your life, the ambition that you have for life. I think that is something, because if one person, and again, it's unfortunately oftentimes in the long term, the woman who will feel dragged down a little bit or kept back or something.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Of course, so inevitably.
So if I think that idea of you know, how do you see your life, let's say in 10 years, where do you want to be? What are the things you want to achieve in life? You know, I feel for us at the moment, we're growing closer.
Yeah.
We're realizing, I think we're closer and closer on that front.
Yes.
On, what do we want to achieve? How successful do we want to be? Not just financially, by the way, just generally life achievements. I think that's actually.
But for example, even though of course, we're only living the life now.
Yeah,
we didn't predict how in sync we will continue to grow in our ambition.
Of course, you can never know.
However, what was clear to me was that I did want to, I'm a very ambitious person. I wanted to pursue my dreams. I wanted to work hard. I wanted to be a go-getter. Then already having a conversation with a man who thinks that when I have kids, he can do all the work and get the money and I'm going to be at home minding them. I mean, mate, that's very clear.
That's already, absolutely. That's
I think it's important. Another tip would be to go from just thinking this person is good and kind to me to really do our values align, which is a lot deeper, you know. I said as a joke to somebody, like the fact that, for example, Chimamanda and Rihanna don't have to go on a tour together, meaning that individually they're powerful, inspiring women, but they do not need to be on it doing a show together. Do you understand what I mean? It's the same thing with a relationship. The fact that on your own you're a boss, you're powerful, and the other person doesn't mean that you have to commit to your life
together. A lot
together.
of things have to come together at once. True. Very true. Yeah. Oh, that was good. Very, very interesting. Very powerful.
It came out in a conversation. I was like, did I just say that? It was so random. But
very good.
Anyway,
well, I think we've given you more than a sense of our view on this and what we've certainly learned and what we've gone through. We obviously, as always, want to give a bit of time at the end now, maybe to see if we can get through some of the questions that you guys have asked.
Okay.
So let's see if you guys have any questions for us on this particular topic. This is your chance. We'll have a look. What do we got there? Sorry, we have two different screens here.
Someone said you should talk more about what it was like for you, but I don't know what they meant specifically.
What it was like for me? Jackie, in terms of...
Thank you, Jumai. There's a compliment.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I don't think people have specific
Any question? It might be a little bit delayed, to be honest, the comments coming in.
Oh, actually, someone said David didn't mention when he knew you were the one.
Well, I will try to go a little bit more into this. So I said earlier a little bit, trust me.
Okay.
I'm quick normally on these things, please. You normally tell me tell me more, Anyway, so as I said already earlier, I actually was quite early on. So even when we first kind of got into a relationship, yes, it was a little bit more kind of secretive at the time, but I was quite quickly, number one, interested in taking it further, meaning a very serious relationship, very public and very, very proper kind of, a really serious relationship. So because that initially didn't happen, of course, that kind of gave me a little bit of, I guess a pushback or something, whatever you want to call it, but I always kept at it, right? I always kind of, believed that, okay, you know what, I'm going to stay back a little bit. Maybe she needs time. I understood the difficulty of what you explained to me kind of culturally and everything. So I was like, no, but I'm going to prove to her, I'm going to be here, right? So I think when I really knew, she was the one, because obviously there's a bit of this romantic view of oh my God, I really want to be with her. But I really understood was actually after we then really got together in a serious way. And after the engagement, now you might wonder, well, after the engagement, no, but let me explain why. No, let me explain. Because in a good relationship and marriage, your love grows, right? So my point is, when I then saw her going through this whole period from when she first sort of revealed things to people, okay?
Yeah.
Until then we actually got married, that for me was, if anything, a complete confirmation that I just married the most powerful woman on this planet.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh.
So I already, of course, kind of knew and wanted to marry her before the engagement. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but at what point did that first knowing happen? You don't go and spend thousands of dollars on a ring and give it to me only to find out later that I'm the one.
Why I mentioned this, because this was a more kind of, let's say, clear-cut, kind of very powerful moment. To be honest, the general, of course, let's say when I thought I was going to propose to you, that happened really over time and quite early on, to be honest. There wasn't as clear cut, do you understand? significant moment, I would say. I kind of always knew I was interested in when I then eventually saw you were more interested, like you actually reciprocated a little bit like that kind of interest of mine. Of course, then I was like, that's it now, like that's my moment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but as I said, the more emotionally
Oh,
powerful.
so what I'm getting from this, obviously the first time didn't work out. We tried again the second time.
Correct.
You realized I was interested.
Then,
you took the engagement ring to trap me. Then eventually realized. Wait, hold on, let me finish. And then eventually realized I was the one when I then went to.
No, that's unfair. That's unfair to put it that way. No. Number one, I didn't use the ring to trap you or anything. I didn't only realize after the engagement that you were the one, right? I just wanna.
That's what you said.
No, but I was trying to make the point, of course, in a maybe clearer way. I already knew you're the one, but I probably at the time I was willing to propose to you. I didn't yet know the full extent of how much you were the one for me.
Ah, okay, that's
Is that
a
better,
different
maybe?
perspective.
Maybe to explain it a little better. Like that's what I meant. Like that period was so powerful that if anything, I was like, hey, thank you. Thank you for the patience that I had.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, that's how I meant
Okay, that's good.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, that made sense. Okay. Anyway, question. Is moving in with a guy a good idea if you want to see if the relationship will work after 2 years?
2 years.
See, I'm gonna give you a subjective response because you are directing that question at me.
And me.
And you. I'm not saying that this is what should happen for everyone.
Of course.
But for me, I 100% think that there should be some cohabitation happening before you walk down the aisle. That's it.
Yes. Simple answer is yes.
That's it. Yeah.
I agree.
I think so.
After 2 years, if you have a good feeling, if this could really be something very serious for you, I think it would be a lost opportunity for you because there is a difference. Well, there are maybe not a difference. It's not like it's completely opposite, but like there are elements you will never fully learn about a person until you live with them.
Yeah, see them sunrise.
I think it's absolutely okay and important to do that. Yeah.
For people, like obviously this varies across cultures and across religion. So, you know, if you're conflicted by that, maybe you can give it a try after you've gotten engaged, right? After you've gotten engaged, maybe before the marriage, because it's much easier to break up an engagement than it is to break up the wrong marriage, in my opinion.
I mean, sorry, Becky, you just said, I don't know if he is the one yet. I mean, that's tricky, of course, but that could be part of finding out. Look at it that way.
Mean, if you follow the tips that we've given, if in terms of you understanding yourself, take a pen and a paper, write down 3 core values that you want to live with the rest of your life and that are very important enough for you to pass on to your children. Be clear about that. Be whole as a person. Learn how to spend time with yourself. Fill up your cup. Oh, there is nothing as powerful as a woman walking in her purpose. And once you understand what your purpose is, you can tell, does this guy align with my purpose? Does he fit into my vision? And if he doesn't, you know, once you understand this, difficult decisions become very easy to make. Like things that you thought you'd have to wreck your head about, it's so easy for you to wake up and that guy who's been doing your head in for the last year because of attitudes he's refused to change, one day you will wake up and be like, Oga, time to go. Time to go.
Bye.
Bye. So learn to work on yourself first. And then also, if you then make that decision that this person is the one, make sure that you're not bondaged by every other person's projection of what that relationship should look like. Because sometimes when women say, I don't know if he's the one, it's really because they have like 3 best friends, 2 aunties, 1 uncle, 1 dad, 1 mom telling them, you better come back here with somebody who's working in an oil company. And then you realize, well, this guy doesn't fit it and I'm really conflicted by that. So make sure that people are not projecting their ideas of what your relationship should look like.
Absolutely. Amazing. That was great, guys. I think we are hitting almost the full hour, so
Yeah. Oh,
again,
no.
another long video. I know.
Okay, bye, guys.
Time always flies, but look, we generally want to say a big thank you. Again, that was great.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your comments and being so engaged and everything. We hope this was interesting and useful and everything. Make sure to subscribe. Of course, follow us also on Instagram. You know, we post a lot there, obviously, on our To Navigate Instagram handle as well. And yeah, we will, first of all, obviously, see you on the weekend for our vlog. And then also, of course, next Wednesday, again, same time, same place.
We need to make it clear that the vlogs sometimes go up on like between Saturday and
Yeah.
Sunday because
Yeah.
of the kids and our family
Just life.
situation.
Just
Life. Life happens. We try to make it
Exactly.
on a Saturday. You know, doesn't unforeseen circumstances plus everything else.
Exactly.
It goes up on Sunday, so bear with us. Or Monday sometime.
Oh, well, no.
Okay, Saturday or Sunday.
All right, guys. Have a great rest week, guys. And we
Have a
will
great
chat to
rest
you.
You say that all the time.
Good,
and
do
I'm
I?
like, that sounds so funny.
Sorry. Well, what else can I say? What's better to say then?
No, because it's just a different
Have a great
way.
evening.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Enjoy the rest of your week, guys.
Have a
I've
great
learned some-
rest week.
It's probably very German to say that.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
all right.
All right, bye. You're not saying bye to me. You say bye.
I know. I don't know why I was.
I don't know why you're
I think
like-
I just want to kiss you.
No, not on camera. No.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.